Just comment on this. Dasuki Nakande says the deputy governor was earlier cleared by the House of Assembly. If indeed he was cleared, was there any reason for him to want to resign?
No, it's really up to him. Like I said, resignation is personal. There are a number of factors you will have taken into consideration. Perhaps he felt that, okay, I no longer want to work with this group of persons. I want to pursue my own career. Mind you, we also said he's also a lawyer. He might decide that, look, I'm tired of governance, I'm tired of politics, I want to do other things. There are people like that who suddenly go into government only to realize that, look, what I see here is irreconcilable with my person. I can no longer continue. I can no longer work with this group of persons. And now decide to go into either business or private practice. So that might actually be his decision. But why the sudden U-turn? That's just my worry.
It would seem that you're resting this majorly on integrity, which some will say is a moral issue, not really a legal issue.
Not really. I won't say I'm basing it purely on integrity. I'm basing it more on law. And that's why I said, if you look at the 3061 and 2, and you reconcile that with section 191, 1 and 2, you can see that the Constitution says where the office of the deputy governor is vacant by reason of resignation. It didn't talk about resignation in terms of whether the letter was transmitted or not. Say by reason of resignation. The Speaker of the House will be sworn in. So the fact is, was the office of the deputy governor vacant? By what reason? By reason of resignation. The aspect of letter being transmitted to the wrong person or to the right person is not an issue.
So would you say that if he had just mouthed the words, I resign, I hereby resign?
He can work, for instance, if he works away. You see, that's the beauty of the Constitution. Are you aware that the provision of the Constitution is also clear? If, for instance, on the day of swearing in, the deputy governor is there, the governor is nowhere to be found, and the time for swearing in is ticking away, are you aware that the deputy governor can be sworn in on account of the fact that the governor cannot be found? Are you aware that the vice president, right, in the absence of the president, on the day of swearing in, can be sworn in as president? So the Constitution is clear. There are a number of provisions. A number of provisions in the Constitution. These are issues that have already been addressed in the Constitution. You see, we must allow the process to and not take advantage of loopholes. That's just what I'm saying. There's no loophole here, as far as I'm concerned. There's no loophole. It's clear.
So the fact that the House of Assembly eventually cleared him,
yes,
it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. You say, okay, everyone who is to hold elective office, or for instance, if I as governor now decides to pick my deputy governor, perhaps resign, and I want to pick a governor. Now the governor that I'm going to pick will also be screened. He will also be screened. And so if he's cleared and he comes on board, the fact of clearing him will not aid him if he decides to leave. It won't be construed negatively. It's just a question of a man says, I no longer want to work. Can you keep him? Can you keep him?
What will be your thoughts, even though it's not quite our discussion, but what will be your thoughts also on the matter in Nasarawa State?
Nasarawa State is also one that I will commend the governor in the sense that in his own case, he appeared before the panel that was set up. So you can see the constitutional protocol being complied with. Did he appear there? The answer is yes. At the end of the day, was he not absorbed? Now, what the House of Assembly is saying, to a large extent, is almost like saying that constitutional process is fraught with irregularity. You follow the constitutional process by mandating the chief judge to pick a panel. You cannot challenge the composition of the panel at this time. It is a discretionary power conferred on the chief judge of the state in doing that, and he's done so. Now, the Constitution says the category of persons he has to pick. At the time those persons were picked, did anybody challenge the composition at that stage? So and so person, he's a fraudster, or he's a man who has moral challenges, is a thief, and all of that. No such thing happened.
Oh, but the House of Assembly did.
No, it was after the governor had been cleared and they now started challenging. Why didn't they challenge at the time the panel was composed?
Before the panel sat,
No.
they actually asked that the chief judge dissolve the panel, that they had some members on the panel.
No. Read the report well. Mm-hmm. What happened was that after the chief judge convened the panel, they said they are proceeding with impeachment proceedings. Even when the governor was pleading for time, even when the citizens were saying, no, it should not happen, the panel was eventually constituted. The challenge they then eventually had was because there was dearth of relevant facts to place before the panel in rebuttal, they chose not to go. And it was at that point they started challenging. Not at the point when the panel had been complete. Mind you, when the composition is done, everyone would then be aware of those who are to be in the panel. It was when the panel requested for their representation that they started this issue of, oh no, because the governor had given his evidence. At the time the governor was giving his evidence, did they challenge the composition of the panel? No. It was at the point where they were called to come and present their own side of the story that all this issue arose. At least that's what I know, that's what I read in the papers.
Well, there's Williams here who says, well, since the letter of resignation was not approved by neither the impeached governor nor speaker, he says it's null and void.
No, it's not a question of whether it is approved or not. Yes, you see, the Constitution is clear. Once it is transmitted to the appropriate authority, there's no provision for discretion. There's no provision for discretion. So once you do it and you forward it, you put it in, it is deemed as granted, so to speak. There's no provision there to say, oh, when it is done and it is acted upon. Once the person receives it, it's complete. It's an action that is concluded by virtue of your representing, your forwarding the letter. That's all. That's what the Constitution says.
Then we have Hugo who says he thinks a deputy governor's resignation is never complete until it is transmitted to the appropriate authority.
The appropriate authority in this wise is, it could be, remember what we said. It says the person appointing. So in the case of the deputy governor who appointed him, he's the governor.
The governor, yeah.
Right. So if he forwarded it to the governor and the letter is there, the Constitution has no provision to say the governor can decline the receipt of the letter and to say to him, oh, as far as the law is concerned, has he transmitted the letter to the person appointing him? If the answer is yes, aspect of either giving it to the House of Assembly does not even arise.
You know,
there are categories of persons stated there in 306, 1 and 2. Categories of persons. It could be, for instance, if the governor is not in the office protocol and he gives it to the chief of staff, he addressed to the governor, and the chief of staff takes the letter in, it's as good as concluded. Mind you, we have a federal system. You have a council, you have a group of people that work with the governor. So as far as the law is concerned, you have an institution. You're not dealing with the person here. You're dealing with an institution. And this is the mistake oftentimes we make. If I do a letter to the speaker, the law does not envisage I should give it to the speaker personally. Okay. It's an institution. So once a letter is submitted to that institution, it's as good as concluded.
Okay.